Hello Pokemon Masters, Birdkeeper Toby here. And now we move from the Unova region, which had the most new forms of life in any other generation, to the Kalos region, which has the smallest Pokedex. So while this part might be a little bit shorter, it's still going to be interesting, because while you think you might have it all worked out, how we're going to move through the episode, actually we're going to start with the highest forms of life, and then move down to the simpler ones. Let's go. Before we get into this part, Pokemon Masters, I have a quick question about the pseudo-legendary, the pseudo-dragon of this generation, Goodra. What exactly is this creature? Because yes, while I say dragon, we know from past parts that not all dragons are dragons in the world of Pokemon, with Garchomp evolving from Sharpedo. So what is this? Well, potentially, if you're familiar with this series and you've watched all the parts up until now, you might be able to guess. So let me know your thoughts in the comments and I'll let you know a little bit later on.
For now though, let's look at the mammals. The bunny Pokemon Diggersby is more or less just another variant on Lopunny. You can see by Lopunny's giant ears that they could have easily variated over time and led to Diggersby's second lot of hands that are its ears. Dedenne is an electric rodent that would sit with the other rodent Pokemon like Raichu and its Alolan form, plus or minus Pachirisu and Emolga. Chestnut is of course based off of Hedgehog, a grass hedgehog. Sounds like a certain legendary Pokemon we all know. And in the world of felines, we have the only Generation 6 Pokemon that have gender variant forms, these being Pyroar and Meowstic. And Meowstic, like Espeon, may be one of the closest living relatives to the Pokemon Mew, another psychic cat with incredible powers as referenced by Esper's Pokedex entries, talking about how it has to restrain its own psychic abilities. Additionally, it has two wildly different gender variants, which might be a sign of its ever-changing DNA. Sylveon is the latest of the cat, dog, foxes Pokemon and completes our circuit of the evolutions. Which is your favourite? Pangoro, of course, is based off of a panda bear, and Furfrou is a canine. There is another dog, Slurpuff, which, while mostly based on a dog, is also based off of, well, food. If you had to pick a breed, it would be somewhere crossed between a poodle and a Bichon Frise. Hey, my puppy's a Bichon Frise. Who's a good Rolo? And the final mammal in this generation is quite obvious. It's Go-Go, which is a goat. Moving back down the tree, we see where mammals split off from early amphibians. Greninja is a frog or toad like Seismitoad, Poliwrath, and Politoad.
Reptiles include Heliolisk, a lizard,
as well as the fossil dinos, Tyrantrum and Aurorus. And while Tyrantrum is debatedly more likely an ancestor to Tyranitar than Rampardos, it is definitely an ancestor to the other bird Pokemon. It even has feathers covering its body. Aurorus is additionally far more interesting though. It is the ancestor of Pokemon like Tropius and Meganium. Finally, there is the Dragon Noivern, although again, it is not a dragon. This Pokemon is a wyvern, and this can be seen both in its name and by its hands running along the edge of its wings, whereas dragons usually have their arms separate. Next, of course, soaring high are the bird Pokemon, descendants of Tyrantrum. Hawlucha and Talonflame roost here, and also presumably the flightless bird, Aromatisse. While it takes an odd form, you can look at its pre-evolution Spritzy and see that it is meant to be a bird with a beak to match the masks of plague doctors. Moving rapidly onwards in this very small generation of Pokemon, there is only a single fish Pokemon, Dragalge.
This is a seahorse like Kingdra.
And this Pokemon loves hiding in seaweed. We learn in Alola that it actually gets on really well with Demise, a cursed seaweed. And that would make sense because Demise allows it to camouflage with its seaweed-like body. We also have arthropods in Vivillon and its many variants, which are in many ways exactly the same as, well, Alolan forms or Arbok's different hood patterns.
Other arthropods include Clawitza and Barbaracle, which is one of the most forgettable Pokemon in my opinion.
Finally, there are two mollusks, some of the most simple forms of life. Malamar is a squid, our first squid actually. They are bizarre animals that can even fly for short periods of times out of the water. And as I said, there is one other mollusk Pokemon, and as I mentioned earlier, it is Goodra. It is just a highly evolved snail. I mean, just look at Sliggoo. Like Garchomp, this Pokemon is not a true dragon, but rather a dragon-like mollusk. And through convergent evolution, it's developed similar traits to dragons while not being related at all. But given that mollusks are some of the oldest life forms, it makes sense that it's had so much time to develop into this shape. And this also marks the final mollusk currently known in the Pokemon world. Of course, now we can pull back and look at how the creatures of the Kalos region have impacted the Tree of Life, how many of the different branches have started to become complete.
Now, that of course was the shortest region, Pokemon Masters, but next up is the Alola region. It's very tropical, and they even introduced the new Alola forms, which are an integral part of the evolutionary tree of Pokemon life. Now, this is not by any means the end of the journey. The next episode is not the last one. No, we have only just hit the halfway point now. There is much more to come. Pokemon that have come from space, legendary Pokemon, ghosts, where do they all come from? You'll have to engage with me in the comments. And as always, soar high, Pokemon Masters.